So recently, I watched this YouTube web series called Out with Dad, and this was really a first for me. I had never really seen a YouTube web series before in my life, unless something like iCarly counts. Hearing the word web series might make your brain harken back to a more bare bones era of YouTube, when things were more experimental and low budget. There's just something so pleasant and relatable about videos like that. And I'm happy to say that Out with Dad helped me appreciate that era of YouTube and what those creators around that time tried to bring to the table. So before I go any further, I just want to make something abundantly clear. This video isn't really going to be a review per se of Out with Dad. It's going to be more of a deep dive and an analysis video. And I want to talk about what I think the show does really right and why I think it accomplishes the things it set out to accomplish. So, what exactly is Out with Dad? Well, it's a Canadian YouTube series taking place in Toronto, which is in Ontario, which is in Canada, also referred to as the Great White North. Did I mention it's from Canada?
I'm sorry.
It's written, directed by, photographed by, and edited by Jason Lever, otherwise known as the man with too many responsibilities. The story centers around three main characters, but I'll mention more along the way. Rose, played by Kate Conway, Nathan, Rose's father, who's played by Will Conlon, and Vanessa, who's played by Lindsay Middleton. Let's start with the main character, Rose. Rose is a teenage girl who throughout the series comes to terms with being gay and slowly comes out to the people in her life. Starting with Kenny, who's an amazing dancer. I'll get to Nathan in a bit, but for now I want to talk about Vanessa, who's pretty important to Rose's character. See, Vanessa and Rose have been best friends since they were little kids. Both Vanessa and Rose are gay and come out to each other simultaneously, and they also admit that they're in love with each other. Rose and Vanessa's feelings for each other become the driving force behind the show. Additionally, the challenges they face in relation to their sexual orientation and feelings are also a big part of the show. The show, I feel, does a good job at showing the different experiences gay people can have. For example, at the beginning of season 2, Rose comes out to her father, Nathan, and he's totally 100% supportive.
No contest there, supportive.
Rose, as a result, feels a great relief. She was worried that she would be unaccepted by Nathan, and as a result, hurt him.
And you're not mad?
Mad?
Well, don't parents have those dreams of their kids' marriages and having kids and all that?
Okay, one, none of that's off the table. And two, why didn't you come and talk to me? We've always been able to talk. This wasn't like us.
Conversely, in season 3, Vanessa comes out to her parents who are extremely religious, and they react like this.
You are not gay. Is that understood?
Since Vanessa's parents don't want Vanessa to be gay, she actively tries to suppress her feelings and deny that her orientation is even real. This causes a lot of tension between her and Rose, and it ultimately leads to the end of their friendship.
Don't. Queer.
But that's you!
Now, despite Rose clearly having the better parent... Well, I kinda just gave that away, didn't I? Spoilers for anyone who plans on watching the show. Rose only lives with her father because her mother died giving childbirth. So while, yeah, Rose is lucky to have a father who is very accepting, unfortunately she only has that one parent. And while Vanessa has two parents who do love her, they both don't accept her being gay. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but this balance of things feels believable. Like, no one person is going to have a perfect situation. Even if you're lucky enough to have parents who accept you for who you really are, that doesn't mean all of your problems just go away. So on the topic of parents, Nathan's story is juxtaposed with Rose's. While Rose is trying to understand what life is like being gay, Nathan tries to wrap his head around having a gay teenage daughter. This includes situations like telling his own parents about Rose, which actually goes pretty well.
What a relief. We thought you were going to say she was pregnant.
And learning when and when not to out Rose. Take this scene for example. Nathan and Vanessa's mother, Teresa, get into an argument about Rose and Vanessa's friendship. Here, Nathan outs Rose without her consent.
Well, obviously you don't approve. I'm actually quite proud of Rose.
Mrs. LeMay and I spoke today, and she seemed like she already...
She what?
She started talking about you and Vanessa. How you two were, how you both...
You outed me?
I thought she knew.
Do you know what she said to me? She called me a sad, confused little girl. She was so condescending. And now she says that me and Vanessa can't even be friends anymore. How could you do that?
No, I thought she...
You don't get to out me. That's for me to do.
It's clear that he hurt Rose, but you can sympathize with Nathan because this is all new to him also. He wants to do right by Rose, but he really doesn't know how. After doing some Googling, he comes across a PFLAG group, or a Parents, Friends, Lesbians, and Gays group in Toronto, and he gets Rose to come with him in just the most sly way possible.
I was just going to the PFLAG sharing meeting just around the corner at the community center. Would you like to join me?
Dad?
It's no wonder you're an out-of-work actor. You suck at this.
The 2 PFLAG episodes in Season 2 are among some of my favorite. For one, my favorite character in the entire show debuts here, Claire, who's played by Caitlin Medrick. But more importantly, the showrunners use real stories submitted by audience members as monologues in these episodes. Oh, and when I say episodes, these usually don't run as long as typical TV show episodes. Most of them run between 5 and 15 minutes long, so let's back up a little bit and talk about Claire. During the PFLAG episodes, a girl named Claire shares her story with her mom. Afterwards, Claire and Rose strike up a conversation, which slowly leads into a relationship that lasts until, but I'm getting ahead of myself. During Season 3, Vanessa runs away from home and wanders some city that refuses to have any color at all. She then meets a homeless woman who I can only describe as rude.
Oh, can I have the top hat?
Vanessa then follows the sandwich stealer, Kayla, to a house off the beaten path and proceeds to live there with a cast of sketchy characters. Vanessa goes through a lot here, including hooking up with Kayla, getting her phone stolen by Kayla, and oh yeah, she legit almost gets raped. Thankfully, Vanessa escapes and eventually makes her way to her older brother's apartment. While all of this is going on, Vanessa's parents are worried, sick, and even ask Rose and Nathan if... Wait a minute, you're not Nathan! Yeah, so Nathan was recast this season. At first it kind of threw me off, but he grew on me. Anyways, Vanessa's older brother calls their parents to let them know Vanessa's okay. And shortly thereafter, Vanessa comes home to see her father nailing a pride flag to the house. At least I think that's a oh, okay, there we go. The two embrace each other with a hug as their dad apologizes. This helps to humanize her parents. Like at first they were super ignorant, which made them scared, which made them push Vanessa away. But after pushing Vanessa away, they realize that Vanessa is just as scared and confused as they are. And that they weren't helping at all. It's important to note that Rose is also going through some trouble this season. So I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but Rose goes to a Catholic school. As if being gay wasn't hard enough, she has to wear the same fucking thing every day. Claire, remember, her girlfriend, also goes to this same high school and wants Rose to be as open about their relationship as she does. Rose is apprehensive. She's afraid of her school knowing she's gay, and rightfully so. Because eventually the school finds out that Rose is gay, and this happens.
No, I don't think you understood me. I don't want you in here watching us. It's an invasion of our privacy, Lesbo. I said get out!
Rose keeps the bullying a secret for a while, but it's not long until Nathan gets a call from Rose's gym teacher. Apparently, parents have been pressuring him to make Rose and other lesbian students change in separate locker rooms. And Nathan is totally and completely okay with that.
This is absurd. All right, you fix this. You fix this!
Towards the end of Season 3, Rose confronts her principal about both the bullying and her gym teacher's bright idea of having her change in a separate locker room. The two then proceed to have what I think is one of the most important conversations in this entire show.
Brittany's parents will be contacted.
But what if they were the ones that complained to Mr. Kelsey?
Rose, your safety is more important than that.
But don't you have to respect their religious beliefs? I mean, this is a Catholic school. Isn't it not okay that I'm gay?
Rose, I'm taking a risk telling you this. And I could lose my job if word got out. But when I was your age, I know it would have helped a lot if I heard someone tell me that they understand. I understand. You shouldn't feel guilty of who you are in front of me, in front of Brittany, in front of Mr. Kelsey, in front of God. Okay? It's not the kind of school I want. That's not the kind of school you deserve. Trust me when I say it gets better.
Okay, so I want to break this down piece by piece just for a sec. 1. Rose's principal is implying that he's gay, and therefore implying that he has to keep it a secret or else he'd lose his job. This shows Rose that even as an adult, her sexual orientation might be problematic. But that brings me to my second point. Her principal says he wishes that he had someone in his life when he was younger to tell him that they understood, that they sympathized with his struggle. Even though he didn't, Rose does, through Nathan and Claire and her principal, implying that progress has been made and that more people are comfortable with being openly gay. At the end of season 3, Nathan throws a birthday party for Rose at their house and invites all of the main cast. But this season had the craziest finale, because towards the end of the episode, a mysterious person knocks on the door. Can you guess who it is, Vanessa? Vanessa apologized, they both cry, and start making out. In front of Claire. And that's where season 3 ends. On that cliffhanger. And I forgot to mention this, but there's also a musical episode this season. This is the best season in the entire show. So you'd think that after that suspenseful season finale, season 4 would pick up right where we left off, right? Well, you're wrong. Season 4 takes place 3 years after the events of season 3. And they waste no time establishing this by having Rose drinking in a bar with Nathan in episode 1 to celebrate her 19th birthday. Throughout this season, the events of the last 3 years are given to the audience in pieces. We learn that Rose is attending university, Vanessa abandoned Rose after the awkward makeout session, and also dropped out of high school, and Claire moved away for university somewhere west. Rose still feels guilty about hurting Claire, something she confides in with her friend Alyssa, who still keeps in touch with Claire. Alyssa advises Rose to try dating again, but Rose is hesitant. Thankfully, her friend Owen offers some sound advice.
Yeah. Sad story. Get over it.
Meanwhile, Vanessa is in counseling. Vanessa's first counseling session actually takes place about a month after the season 3 finale, and then all of her other sessions happen between the events of season 3 and season 4. At first, Vanessa's super shy and uncomfortable, but over time she opens up to her therapist. Much like how in the first episode of this season, with Rose explaining to Nathan what had happened in the past 3 years, Vanessa tells her counselor about how her parents got divorced shortly after she got home, and that now she's living with her dad, who is far less religious than her mom. Additionally, Vanessa opens up about running away and is able to properly process all of the trauma she went through. So after Owen's great advice, Rose goes out and meets a new girl. Anyone want to take a guess at what her name is?
Her name is Vanessa.
The two then go on a romantic date at the Ontario Science Center. They have a great time, they play with the plasma ball, they go on the tornado simulator, attend the electricity show, and Rose cheats on her with Claire during Thanksgiving break. I'm not elaborating, this video is way too fucking long. But right before that happens, we find out how Rose really feels about Vanessa.
I think she is a homophobic princess. I think that she made up all that stuff about her parents not letting us be friends. I think that she was too afraid to tell me that she didn't approve of me being gay. I think she hated you because you made me more gay and just didn't want to be around me anymore.
No.
And I think that whole thing with her running away, I think she just did that for attention.
Or at least that's what we're led to believe. You see, as soon as season 4 wraps up and we say one last goodbye to Claire, Rose ends up running into Vanessa. After repeating,
How do I know this place?
a million times, it turns out that Vanessa's cottage is nearby. Oh, here comes Nathan. Maybe he'll offer some helpful insight.
You know, I think I figured out why this place is familiar, because Vanessa's family's cottage is near here, and
But in all seriousness, he does.
you have a chance. You don't know what you don't know.
Rose catches up to Vanessa, and it all comes to a head.
Nice, Vanessa. Run away. Worked for you the last
Yeah,
time.
well, you can stop following me whenever you want.
I'm not finished.
Well, I am.
You basically ruined my life. The least you could do.
Oh, boo-hoo, Rose.
I opened my soul to you, and you just threw it back in my face. You made me ashamed of who I am, and I've never gotten over that.
Rose, you are pathetic. You have been afforded just about every privilege there is. You had everything, and you want me to feel sorry for you. After everything that I've gone through, I needed my best friend, and you weren't there. You think that I left you? You turned your back on me.
What?
Yeah, I needed you, Rose. I was crying out for help, and you and Claire just had to rub your happiness in my face. I had no one.
You called me a queer. You stopped talking to me. Me. Completely cut off. It was as if you hated me.
No, Rose, I loved you. And I couldn't have you, and you knew that.
If you wanted to be with me so bad, why didn't you fight for me?
You know what? If you didn't live such a sheltered life, maybe you could understand.
I've had it hard too, you know.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, right. I got beat up in school for being gay. Meanwhile, you completely stopped talking to me, amongst everyone else for that matter. Even your dad. Did you know that he was on my front doorstep crying his eyes out? It was the most heart-wrenching thing I ever saw.
No, Rose, I was kicked out. I was a teenage girl who was told she had sinned, and I believed that. My mother kicked me out of my own house for that sin.
If you had nowhere to go, why didn't you come to me?
I already told you! You shut me out! You and Claire were so cute and adorable, and I was on the street. I was homeless. I was fighting off sexual predators. You know, I don't know what delusions you've been playing with here, but you had everything and I had nothing.
I didn't have everything. I didn't have you.
Once everything's out in the open, Rose and Vanessa spend the next few episodes talking, hanging out, and ultimately kissing at Vanessa's cottage. Which brings us to Season 5, Episode 5, aka the last episode in the series. So throughout this entire series, Nathan had been struggling to maintain relationships, and in this episode, he seeks counseling for the first time. And it's in this counseling session that he realizes that he's
asexual.
Rose, Nathan, and Vanessa all meet in a big field. Nathan kisses Rose, says goodbye, walks away, and Vanessa and Rose hold hands together and walk into the sunset. And that's it. That's Out with Dad. And before I wrap up, I just want to say a couple of things. First, if you go to the Out with Dad YouTube channel, you're not only going to find the series. There are behind-the-scenes videos, fan fiction readings, there are even live-streamed videos of the cast reacting to each season, and full live-streamed videos of Jason Lever editing full episodes. I mean, I only watched a few minutes of these, but there's just something kind of satisfying about watching somebody edit. 2020 was a tough year to say the least, but having something wholesome and amateur to watch, and I mean that in the nicest way possible, really helped distract me from all the shit 2020 threw my way. Out with Dad helped to remind me that being with people, having good friends, and having good family is what's most important. It might sound kind of silly, but I don't really care. Let's hope 2021 is better, and thanks for watching. Subscribe, take care,